In a world where lives are shattered by senseless violence, these 5 killers left a trail of bloodshed that shocked the nation. Today, we take a closer look at their heinous acts and their chilling reactions as they face the ultimate punishment: death. Michael Brady. First, we have Michael Brady, a man whose desperate attempt to escape from the Pascal Tank Correctional Institution ended in unimaginable horror. On that fateful day, Brady led a brutal attack against prison staff, resulting in the tragic deaths of 4 dedicated workers. In a calculated and ruthless assault, Brady stabbed one victim multiple times and turned a hammer into a deadly weapon against another, demonstrating a shocking disregard for human life. During the ensuing trial, the prosecution painted a chilling portrait of Brady as the mastermind behind this horrific act. Witnesses recounted the chaos of the attack, highlighting his cold and calculated nature. As details emerged of the brutality inflicted on the victims, it became evident that Brady showed no remorse for his actions. When the jury delivered their recommendation for the death penalty, he remained eerily composed, revealing a disturbing lack of empathy that haunted the courtroom. Judge: the jury unanimously recommends that the defendant be sentenced to death. In a poignant moment, the judge officially confirmed the jury's decision, sealing Brady's fate with the words that would echo in the lives of the victims' families. As he now sits on death row in Colorado, the gravity of his actions weighs heavily on the justice system, raising difficult questions about accountability and the nature of human cruelty. The chilling reality is that Brady's quest for freedom came at a devastating cost, forever altering the lives of those he left behind. Austin Myers and Timothy Mosley. Next, we delve into the chilling case of Austin Myers and Timothy Mosley, 2 young men whose greed led to the brutal murder of 18-year-old Justin Back during a robbery gone wrong. What began as a plan to steal a safe from Back's home spiraled into an unimaginable act of violence, leaving a community in shock and grief. The details of the crime are harrowing. In a moment of desperation, they resorted to strangling Back, and then, in a frenzy of brutality, stabbed him a staggering 21 times. The level of violence exhibited by Myers and Mosley was not only shocking but also premeditated. Mosley ultimately made a plea deal, agreeing to testify against Myers in exchange for a reduced sentence. This betrayal added another layer of tragedy to an already heartbreaking situation. In the courtroom, the juxtaposition of their actions with the profound loss felt by Back's family created a haunting atmosphere as the true cost of their crime unfolded before the jury. Austin Myers: if you choose for me to die, it's only going to cause more pain and suffering for another family. As Myers took the stand to plead for his life, he argued that his execution would only inflict further suffering on innocent families. Yet, his words fell flat against the overwhelming evidence of his guilt and the anguish experienced by Justin's family. In a powerful moment, Justin's father stood before the court, delivering a heart-wrenching impact statement that left no doubt about the depth of their loss. Despite Myers' desperate pleas, the jury ultimately sentenced him to death, making him the youngest person on Ohio's death row. The case serves as a grim reminder of how a moment of greed can irrevocably alter lives, leaving scars that may never heal. Nico Jenkins. Nico Jenkins, a man whose life had been marred by crime, erupted into a terrifying killing spree that claimed the lives of 4 victims in a mere 10 days. After serving time for prior offenses, including carjacking and assault, Jenkins emerged from prison to unleash a wave of violence that would leave a lasting impact on the Omaha community. Each of his murders was not a crime of passion, but a calculated act of brutality, with Jenkins selecting his victims with chilling intent. The police investigations that followed his rampage were extensive, revealing the depths of his depravity and the premeditated nature of his actions. As the evidence mounted against him, the courtroom became a stage for the unraveling of a disturbed mind. Jenkins sat stoically during his trial, revealing little remorse for the lives he had taken. When the judge read the sentence, declaring the death penalty appropriate for each of the 4 murders, Jenkins displayed an unsettling calm, seemingly unaffected by the weight of his fate. Now incarcerated at the Nebraska State Penitentiary, he awaits execution, a stark reminder of how a life of violence can lead to irreversible consequences, not just for the victims, but also for the perpetrator trapped in a cycle of crime and despair. Martez Abram. Martez Abram, a former Walmart employee, found himself consumed by rage and bitterness after being suspended from his job. On that fateful day, instead of walking away, Abram returned to the store armed and determined to exact revenge. In a horrific display of violence, he unleashed a torrent of gunfire, killing 2 store managers, Anthony Brown and Brandon Gales, while also injuring a responding officer. The scene became one of chaos and despair as shoppers and employees scrambled for safety amidst the chaos of Abram's wrath. During his court proceedings, Abram exhibited a chilling indifference to the gravity of his actions, as he casually admitted to the murders in front of the judge. "Yes, that's you shooting him in cold blood, isn't it?" the prosecutor pressed, highlighting the stark reality of his brutal crime. As the courtroom grappled with the weight of his confession, the judge delivered the inevitable sentence: death. Now, as Abram awaits execution, the haunting memories of that tragic day linger, a grim reminder of how anger and violence can lead to devastating consequences for all involved. Markeith Lloyd. Finally, we have Markeith Lloyd, convicted of murdering a police officer during a violent confrontation. Lloyd was already on the run for killing his pregnant ex-girlfriend when he crossed paths with Lieutenant Deborah Clayton, leading to her tragic death. Lloyd: "You've been trying to kill me!" After being found guilty, the jury recommended the death penalty. Judge: The jury unanimously finds that the defendant should be sentenced to death. Lloyd now awaits his fate behind bars, convinced of his innocence despite the overwhelming evidence against him. These brutal killers left scars on countless lives, and their reactions to the death sentence serve as a haunting reminder of the violence they unleashed. As they await their final judgments, one question remains: do they truly understand the gravity of their actions?